then eventually did decide that I really do like being behind the scenes, and just started looking for what that could mean, and decided to pursue a certificate in literary representation from UCLA.
Welcome to Modern Publishing. I'm Victoria, author, editor, and the owner of Blue Pen, and today I'm on with Anjanette Barr. Anjanette is a literary agent at Dunham Literary. She's been in various branches of the writing and publishing world for over a decade, and she is now a literary agent, and she finds that as the perfect way to synthesize her interests and talents. She lives in Juneau, Alaska, and represents authors across age categories and most genres. So I'm really excited to talk to you today, Anjanette. I know we're going to cover a lot of topics here. So to get started, can you just tell me a little bit about your background, how you got here, your road?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't come into publishing right out of, post-secondary schooling. I didn't know that I wanted to work in publishing right away. I knew I wanted to write. I knew I loved to read, but I actually pursued growing my family first. And so I have 4 children, and that took quite a lot of my time. And I always worked in the margins, doing freelance writing, freelance editing, any kind of project I could do to earn a little bit of money and keep up my creativity. And I, decided that in time I would settle on some kind of a career. And the closer I got to feeling like I had enough margin to really focus on that, the more interested in publishing I became. And I did try self-publishing a book, both because I had a need to get a specific topic out into the world that may not have been great for traditional publishing, and because I was interested in the whole process of the behind the scenes. That was a great learning experience. This was 2016 to 2018 that I was kind of learning the ropes there, and that led to a lot of great opportunities with other content creators. That was back when blogging was still a huge, influence in the world. And so I was doing a lot of blogging for money and just for fun. And yes, so right before COVID started, I decided that I might want to go ahead and pursue another degree and start thinking about what I wanted to do when these children of mine are grown, because unfortunately they're not staying little. And I spent about 6 months really trying out a lot of different things. I was on the editorial board for a newspaper. I tried different types of writing. I had fun doing all of it, and then eventually did decide that I really do like being behind the scenes, and just started looking for what that could mean, and decided to pursue a certificate in literary representation from UCLA. And that took a little while, and I worked for a time for Blue Pen, and wanted to make more relationships and have my hands in as many different parts of publishing as I could. I love working with authors. Writers are just great people, and it's so exciting to be a cheerleader and an advocate and a help in any way I can. And literary representation, being a literary agent, really allows me to do some of that editing, especially on the developmental level, just looking at everything from a high level and giving suggestions for how to tighten up like a character arc, or just the pacing or the structure of a book, to polish it before it ever gets seen by an editor at a publishing house. But it also lets me do that career coaching and that encouragement, that strategizing with authors. It lets me be a sounding board for them, because we all know how isolating writing can be, and it's just so much fun. And I have now been working for Dunham Literary for a whole year, and I've been a literary agent for about half of that. So I'm growing my list and getting all the experience. Kind of, it's a lot. Literary agents do a lot. We have the job has a lot of moving parts, which makes it really stimulating and interesting. but it's been a lot to learn, and I'm excited that I still have a lot to learn.
I'm always blown away by everything that agents manage to do. Mm-hmm. I don't think most folks realize exactly how much is involved in being a literary agent.
Yeah, I agree. And I couldn't have seen myself as a literary agent for the beginning of my, seeking a career, because I didn't know what they did. I really had no idea what the different roles in publishing were. So it was really difficult at the onset to even picture myself in any of these roles. So my first step really was figuring out, what do all these people in publishing, all the different steps that have to happen to make a book, what do they all do? So yeah, you're right. I definitely didn't know. I think if you don't grow up maybe in a publishing center, like in New York, you just don't hear about those type of careers sometimes.
Yes, that's so true. And, as mentioned earlier, you're in Alaska.
Yes.
So pretty far from New York.
Yeah, I am.
But Dunham Literary is based in New York, correct?
Right. That is correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what does that look like, working for a New York agency from Alaska?
Yeah. I was very concerned that I wasn't going to find a place because of, distance. There are no publishing houses in Alaska where I live, and there are no literary agencies here either. So there was no natural first step. There are several of both in the Seattle area, which is about 2 hours by plane from here. So, when you're in Alaska, that's as close as it gets. But, New York really is still the center. It's just rapidly changing. And the pandemic, while it didn't do us a lot of favors in general, did increase the drive for finding technologies to make remote work possible. And so all of us getting comfortable with Zoom and other, video platforms, and it becoming more and more the norm to conduct business outside of normal hours or outside of face-to-face meetings in person has really changed a lot. In fact, I was at a virtual mixer for literary agents earlier in their career a couple of weeks ago. And I don't remember how many of us there were, 15 of us or something, and none of us were in New York. So it was very interesting to find out that more and more people in all roles of publishing are spreading out. If you can live anywhere because of technology, then you may not choose to live in a city like New York City. That doesn't mean that you don't have to pay New York City taxes, unfortunately. So.
Oh, that is unfortunate, I'm sure.
Especially because Alaska has no income tax. So it's unavoidable. But yeah, it's pretty great that I can do this job, and that even though my boss, the agency, is in New York, and there is a 4-hour time difference, which can make things difficult sometimes. I'm pretty used to that anyway, because Alaska's an hour, behind or ahead. We're earlier than Pacific time. And so I'm used to having to do things at different hours than everyone else.
It is kind of interesting to me that we're just getting into this. Would you say this is a pretty new development, having agents based in other areas working remotely like this? I
would. And I think that the drawback is that there are fewer opportunities for networking, and that's a huge part of the job. Getting to know editors and to a lesser extent other agents, although it's wonderful to have friends in the same business as you so that you can call on someone for advice and just have camaraderie. Agents didn't tend to mingle quite as much, I don't think, but mingling with editors is super important. So now setting up Zoom meetings with editors is how people are doing that. But when there's an award ceremony or a banquet or something of that nature in New York, it would have to be a pretty big deal for me to fly from Alaska. I would have to have, some compelling, one of my authors is receiving an award or something. And so I do miss out on that. And I think we're all cognizant of the fact that in-person networking, but just friendship is really special. And so, again, it's a drawback, but there's so many positives too. So many people have more flexibility in their schedule. It's better for their lifestyle, and they can live where they want to live. And if they have aging parents that need to be near, or, something that requires them to be away from New York for a long time, they don't have to stop working. So I do think it's new, but it's a positive thing that everyone is adjusting to well.
Thanks to our viewers for hanging out with us today. I hope this conversation has inspired you to blaze your own trail in the publishing industry. Remember, the full episodes are available as podcasts. Just search for Modern Publishing wherever you get your podcasts. And you can head over to bluepinbooks.com/modernpublishing to learn more. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. And that's it for now. I'll see y'all next time.